You're getting better at that every week.
I'm enjoying it, actually. I do have to give some props here, though. I didn't originate that. I stole it from a guy named Storm Zabel. Storm, if you're out there, I just gave you props. I will never mention you again. Welcome to the show. It's Smoking and Toasting, and it's show number 77. And, I don't mean to be that guy, but boy, do we have a show for you today.
Yes, we keep doing it, too.
Yeah, I know, 77 times. Unbelievable. And that includes the infamous lost episode. But we did the episode just because it never saw the light of day because apparently someone, and I'm not saying who, was bitter. And the producers at the time thought it too bitter to go on the air. Those producers are no longer with us, by the way. What does it say in that Monty Python movie? The ones who made the decision have been sacked.
Yes. Nice.
The ones responsible for sacking the ones who made the decision have also been sacked.
Have also been sacked.
So welcome to our show. It's show number 77. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. Smoking and Toasting is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. All Ian and I really do is we're just a couple of guys who like those things. We like to talk about them. So we get together and do that, and we have Adam Andrus producing. He is on the Wheels of Steel. And I was thinking, Ian, about our, when we talk about a cigar, I was wondering if we're annoying. It hasn't occurred to me. I was just thinking about it when I was kind of getting the notes together for the show. If somebody's describing you their cigar the way we try to describe it because we're trying to impart what it was about, if people are saying, yes, there was a faint aroma of lychee nuts, is that is that a little pompous and over? I don't know. Or do people like that?
Okay, so it goes, it goes different from week to week. Sometimes we're more thorough and sometimes less. I think it depends on kind of the mood we're in.
I had a cigar. It was good.
Dang, that cigar is good.
Yeah, but no, you're right. Because I was, because sometimes it's a little pompous to even think that you get those flavors out of a cigar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Yes, I could definitely get a hint of balsa wood.
Yes.
Really? But other times, I totally get it. And I'm trying to develop, one of the things that I've really worked on as someone who enjoys cigars is developing my palate to where I can identify those flavors more. At first, I just went, "Wow, I really like this."
It's interesting you say that.
More than I said, "Oh, there's pine nuts," or whatever. Yeah,
right. Well, it's interesting you say it's like anything that you become a connoisseur, as much as I can use that word, because I'm more of a consumer than a connoisseur.
Totally get that. Yep. I totally get that. But
also I think it depends. Okay, so sometimes I sit down and have a pen and paper or my iPad or whatever, and I'll sit down and I'll go, you know what, I'm going to really do a very heavy review of this cigar. Sometimes I just smoke a cigar and go, man, that was good, and I just try to remember what I liked about it. Mm-hmm. But it did take a long time for me to separate that of smoking a bunch of different cigars and figuring out what is it about this cigar that I like, what is it about that cigar that I like. Mm-hmm. And then, because this show challenges us, this is show number 77.
Right.
You realize that's 77 different cigars that I've had to smoke.
Unless we've repeated one, which we might have.
I don't think I have. Now,
so.
I know that I've smoked cigars that you've reviewed later, and vice versa.
Although even that doesn't happen very often.
No, it only has happened a couple times, and there's nothing wrong with that, because my take on it, your take on it, hey, that's fine.
Could be totally different.
Right, but it's interesting because when you've smoked, think about 77 different cigars, just that alone, and that's just the ones we reviewed,
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about the number of cigars we've had, and the amount of knowledge you get when you actually, and here's the thing, you actually pay attention when you smoke a cigar, because I don't always do that either.
Right.
Sometimes you're
not really paying that much attention.
And
you're
I'm just smoking a cigar and enjoying the cigar for what it is. It's kind of bubblegum at that point.
You're not going, I think I'm getting lychee nuts here. You know what I mean? Yeah.
What are lychee nuts?
I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure what they are. Nor what they taste like.
So it's funny you say that, because sometimes we do. Sometimes we're like, we get way into it. We try to get everything out. But it's really interesting because I'm the same thing, is try to really identify what's on it. Sometimes I'll end up spending, and this is me laughing at myself a little bit, I'll end up spending so much time before I even light the cigar. I'll just smell the cigar. What am I smelling? I'll try to separate all those flavors. And then after a while, just like anything you're smelling after a while, you can't even smell it anymore, right?
Right.
And then I'll clip it and do the pre-light draw and try and see what I'm tasting in that, and really sit down and try to get into it. And sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I'm going into the cigar. Here we go.
I've noticed that some of my favorites are the ones that when I take them, before I've clipped them, before I've tried to pull any air through them, just take them out of the humidor, take the wrapper off if there is still one, and put it to my nose and inhale. And there's a certain thing that most of my favorite cigars have had, like a certain aroma that they have at that point, just right under the nose. But occasionally you get one that doesn't have that much.
Have you identified what that aroma is? Because that's the curious thing.
I think of it as earthiness, but it's, and you'll hear me say a lot of earthiness on the pre-light draw.
Right.
That's something I kind of identify quicker. But I don't know that it's just that.
Right.
I've had some cigars. I think like the CAO. Is it like the MX2, whatever the one
that's a
is?
Great cigar.
That's a Maduro wrapper, a Maduro binder, and Maduro.
That's the if they're all three Maduro, that's their triple Maduro.
That's the triple Maduro.
Cigar too.
It is a good cigar, but that one is so earthy that it actually smells like dirt.
Like dirt, yeah.
When you smell it,
in a great way, though.
Right, in a wonderful way. Yeah, it's like it got that warm kind of wet soil smell that seems so fresh and earthy in such a good way. But so I don't know. And I guess it's. Go ahead.
So this may sound a little crazy, but I get that from that exact cigar, actually, because I really do enjoy that cigar. By the way, that cigar smokes forever.
Yes.
Like, that is one of the slowest
smoker. It is.
And it's great. But what I get from that, too, is a little bit of, I hate to say it, but barnyard. Yes. It's so earthy, but in a good way, because my grandfather had a farm, so I remember he had the barn and everything like that. And there's this smell that happens, just this earthy thing, and it's the hay and it's the horse and it's all this stuff. This
I know,
earthiness.
And you almost want to say and the manure, but obviously that wouldn't smell good. But yet there's a certain
kind of. Yes.
I know what you're saying. There's a certain way you can walk by a stable that has horses and you can smell the manure, but it's not a like makes you gag sort of a
it's
smell.
just part of what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe we've gotten off.
We may have
off the ranch, so to speak here, but no, that's true. And once you sit down and you really start working on how to identify these flavors. One of the nice things to do, especially if you're new at this, one of the great things to do is find some good reviews. Half Wheel does great reviews.
Yes,
there's a bunch of Cigar Aficionados has great reviews.
Or take a cigar that you have smoked.
Yes.
Like one that you go, okay, I've smoked this cigar, and just Google it. Just Google the name of that cigar
and review.
Yeah. And it'll come up. You can look and see what people have said about
and enjoy that cigar, but sit down and try and get, like when they say pre-light draw, see if you can find those flavors in there. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't,
Ian, with all of this in mind, did you smoke anything interesting this week?
Oh, was I supposed to smoke a cigar?
I didn't know it was an assignment. I thought it was just me asking you, hey, did you have anything going down?
I was hanging out with
That's not mine.
That's me.
See? Don't people know you're doing a show?
Well, he should, actually. He should be watching it right now.
Well,
anyway,
you should
I'm calling you out, Brandon.
You should totally answer it and go, watch the show. I'm sorry.
Anyway, so I was hanging out with a mutual friend of me and the guy who's just calling me now for just a moment yesterday, and he had a bag of cigars. He's like, have you tried any of these? Or no, it wasn't yesterday. It was 2 days ago. But and he goes, have you tried any of these? And I looked down and I said, actually, I have this one in my humidor, and I haven't tried it yet. I said, maybe that's... Oh, it was yesterday. It was yesterday. Because I said, maybe that's what I'll talk about tomorrow.
Maybe that's a sign.
Yes. So I sat out last night under my carport in the rain and smoked a 2012 by Oscar Valderez.
Oh, and what did you think of
Valderez.
Yeah, what did you think of that? Because we got those at the Big Smoke.
We did, and it's been sitting in there, and it's a pretty cigar.
Yes,
it's gorgeous. It's a torpedo.
And it's real,
it's about 6 inches long.
It's real,
it's very box
very
pressed.
Well, yeah.
And it's got this great red label on it because it's the Maduro. Apparently, they make 3 versions of this. Okay, they make the Connecticut, the Corojo, and the Maduro. They have 3 variations on that, and the one we had, or the one I had, was the Maduro, which I will almost always default to because I like that. I identify with the earthiness.
That way too. Yep,
there you go. Right,
kind of that way too.
So I said, yeah, I think I'll actually smoke that. So I did. I sat outside. It rained really hard last night, so I was kind of in the middle of my carport because in
trying
Texas,
not to get water blown on you.
In Texas, the rain sometimes just goes about 45 degrees in any given direction. Sometimes it's in a couple directions at once.
Mm-hmm.
So and my cat's around my legs, and anyway, I was standing out there enjoying my cigar, and this was fantastic. It was a great cigar. It was a great constructed cigar. I never once had an uneven bit on it. Like it burned so even from beginning to end. I was astounded. I smoked it till about burned my fingers. Now, from the pre-light sniff, It was chocolatey. It was very classic Maduro, very earthy. Okay. From the pre-light draw, it had much of the same thing, maybe with a little bit of leather in there, and a little of that mocha. And I end up saying like the chocolate and mocha a lot because I just love cigars that are like that. And this thing smoked delicious all the way through. If I was going to complain anything about this cigar, the draw might have been a little bit light.
A little bit light?
A little bit
light, tight, like not enough smoke?
A little too easy almost.
A little too easy.
Right. It smoked a little faster than I was expecting.
Okay, gotcha.
But not necessarily in a bad way. It didn't smoke hot.
Right.
It just smoked a little faster.
That's the thing. As long as it didn't smoke too hot,
right.
that can
ash
be okay.
Was good and solid. Everything about this cigar was fantastic. The first third went down. The flavor developed almost immediately in this thing. Very, very tiny kiss of pepper, just enough to spice. That built up by the third of this cigar. The second third of this, by the way, was much the same, just an enjoyable thing. By the third, I had a little bit of pepper spice right on the tip of the tongue, but the sweetness and the creaminess of this thing and the big smoke that came out of it was just wonderful. Absolutely enjoyed it. About, I think, $8.50 to $9 cigar if you're going to buy it. I'm going to give that one a straight up 5. That is, you get exactly what you're paying for, worth every bit that you're paying for, and what a great cigar.
That's absolutely.
How about you?
Well, I first of all, I want to say I had one of those from the Big Smoke as well, and I have smoked it already, although I did not review it on the show. And I would echo pretty much everything you said. I mean, it was a really flawless construction. It was a little tiny bit, it burned a little fast, but not hot. And I just thought it was one of the prettier cigars I've had.
It was a gorgeous cigar.
It was just absolutely beautiful with the box press and the. You talk about a torpedo. That one was a sharp enough torpedo you could have actually poked holes and stuff with it, even though it was.
You could use it to poke other cigars.
Tobacco. So I had a Padilla Habano Robusto this week, and I'm going to tell you about it in the next segment because my expectations were actually pretty low. So I'll tell you how it did compared to that. Plus, coming up on today's show, we have some I really want to tell you about some of the things we have to talk about because there's great stuff happening, or at least, if not great, at least interesting. Newsflash, by the way, don't know if you knew this. There's actually some health risks involved with smoking cigars.
What?
There's some health risks involved in smoking cigars. But the press is lying about them again. And I will call them out on this show coming up. Plus, encouraging remarks from Washington about the legislation for premium cigars. So we'll share that with you. And it's on. Stone Brewing is suing Miller Coors. Oh, this is going to get good. So we'll tell you all about
I want to hear about that.
Yeah, we'll tell you all about that coming up. This is Smoking and Toasting. It's all about craft beer, my friends, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we will be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, and we are so happy to be with you discussing craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. On today's show, how to live past 90. And this is like, you're going to love this. It's great advice for all human beings. We're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. By the way, you'll never guess what I brought.
What'd you bring?
We should talk about this now.
All right, talk to me.
Even though we won't sample it till later in the show. I brought some Whistle Pig.
You brought specifically.
See how good I am?
The old world.
I'm not even sure where I got this, to be honest with you. It found its way into my possession. And it's the Whistle Pig Old World Cask finish. So it's a straight rye, but it's been finished in 3 different cask, or the mixture of the rye comes from whiskey finished in 3 different casks. The Madeira, which is 63% of the mix. The French, I'm not even going to try the word. The French oak barrels.
The Sauternes.
Yeah, thank you. 30% with that, and then 7% is port barrels. So this should be there's a lot of fuss about Whistle Pig.
It's so huge now.
It'll be interesting to see if it lives up to its to the buzz. You know,
Whistle Pig, very big right now.
So,
it's so in right now.
Yep, totally looking forward to that. Plus, well, the tequila shortage. I'll just share this with you right now. tequila shortage. We talked about this last week.
Yes, we did.
It's agave, right? Agave is potentially in short supply. Our buddy Stuart Skloss from Pura Vida, who's been on the show before, we've invited him to come back on. He said he will, but we haven't got the specific date lined up. But Stuart tells me there is no shortage. It's a hoax. But he says that it's a hoax only because that Patron and Cuervo have bought up a huge chunk of the supply. So it is causing a squeeze on the smaller companies, and they're doing that on purpose, of course, to try to squash the competition.
Try to squeeze out the smaller companies.
Very, very interesting. However, there have been some other explanations offered, and apparently we now know whose fault it is.
Aliens?
Almost. Ellen DeGeneres.
Oh.
Yes.
I knew there was something about her.
Ellen rang in her 60th birthday last Saturday in the greatest way possible, surrounded by famous pals, delicious food, and lots of tequila. On her show, I guess earlier this week, she joked there was so much tequila at her star-studded bash, which was thrown by Portia de Rossi at the Lot Studios in West Hollywood. Ellen thinks she may be responsible for the looming worldwide shortage of the alcohol. She said, I came into work Monday and I saw the headline. I thought, oops, I think I'm responsible for that. It's my fault. And this is the best part. Said she had an inkling, though, that it might not you might be able to pin the whole thing on her. She said she thought maybe one of her guests was the main culprit, too. She said, I don't want to blame anyone in particular, but I saw someone sitting at the bar drinking all night long. She says, I'll just give her first name, Oprah. Now, you can figure out which Oprah it was. So, anyway, I thought that was cute.
Which Oprah? Not to be confused with all the other Oprahs.
Yes. So we are looking forward to having Stuart Skloss on the show to discuss this, because I want to know, with Pura Vida being a smaller, craft tequila, how does this affect them? But see, I also know that Stuart and his buddies at Pura Vida are very friendly with the Patron guys.
Yes.
So I don't know how this all. I don't know how this all is going to work. But
I'm totally for it, especially if he brings tequila.
Yes. I am going to tell you this, though. If you've had your eye on like an expensive bottle, this might be a good time to go ahead and invest in it, because they're saying that whether it's perceived or real, that it is going to have the impact of driving tequila costs up.
Tequila costs going up. Maybe that's the whole idea of it.
It could be.
Is to raise the value of the individual bottles.
Like, do you remember when we had the, because of the, I don't remember what, it was one of the wars or something going on in Iraq or whatever, but we had a gasoline shortage. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And airlines, because obviously those big jets use tons of fuel, right? Mm-hmm. So they jacked up the prices, but that was also when they started charging for bags.
Yeah.
Remember that? Well, now we've got plenty of oil. There's no shortage, no problem anywhere.
They're charging the same amount.
We still paying for bags? Yes, we are. I don't know how they sleep at night. But that's just me. So let me tell you about the cigar I smoked this week.
Talk to me.
It's a Padilla Habano Robusto.
Now, wait a second. You said you weren't expecting much from the cigar. I find Padilla's pretty good.
Well, see, I've had some mediocre experiences with them in the past. It would be like uneven construction, maybe lack of complexity. But to be honest, I hadn't tried one in a few years. Like, it's been quite some time, because I didn't think they were bad. I just thought, for the money I can do better. Yeah, right? Yeah. So I wound up trying this with the Habano Robusto, and I was glad that I did. I think, by the way, this Habano Robusto may be something that's available mail order only. When I looked at it online, I noticed it in all of the mail order places. They pop up on the search. So everything, Thompson's, Holtz, Cigars International, JR, all have it. But it's not shown as one of the cigars on the Padilla website, which is kind of interesting. But in any case, it starts off with a nice, rich, tobacco-y pre-light aroma, lights easily, and from the very beginning, it burned perfectly. Now, remember, construction was one of my issues from before, so much for that, from what I'd experienced in the past. There were notes, I thought, of leather, wood, spice, leather, pepper, and leather. I thought that...
Was there leather in there?
I think there was some leather in there. And also a faint hint of lychee nuts.
Lychee nuts.
No, it was nice and complex for a little Robusto.
That sounds like something you want to see a doctor about.
Yeah, I smoked it down to the nub. Excuse me. I think I do need to see a doctor. I smoked it down to the nub, enjoyed it very much. It's a $6 to $7 cigar, Robusto. price to quality, I'd give it a 5.5. Padilla's back in my rotation, so
Nice.
yeah, nicely done.
Yeah, I think I've had pretty good luck with Padillas. I don't smoke them as regular, but I've enjoyed the ones that I've had. I get the lack of complexity on some of them, definitely.
Well, one of the things I noticed when I looked on their website is they've completely changed the packaging on their line, and a lot of them, like they had some that really the packaging is very reminiscent of Padron Aniversarios, which I thought was very interesting. So anyway, a very cool thing to check out. The Padilla, the Habano Robusto. I liked it very, very much.
Oh, you drew that one out.
That was a good one. Yes, yes.
You made that one dramatic.
Anticipation. That was the key to that one. I've just cracked the top on our first beer that we're going to try. It's from Anderson Valley Brewing Company. It's the G&T Gose. It is beer with natural flavors. That's how they describe it. So.
Now, Gose style is becoming popular in the last couple of years.
Yes.
You would very rarely see it before then. It's a sour beer. It's a little more sour.
Although it's more like just tart. Like it's
tart. Yeah, it's not
sour in
sour.
sort of the traditional sour sort of way. But it's one of those things that has a tendency to be sort of looked at and identified as maybe a spring sort of a
right
beer, you know,
because it's not a heavy sour.
No,
heavy
not at all.
tart.
It's not like some of the sour stouts and porters and different things that you can find. This is generally a very refreshing beer, or the Gose is in general. And we actually haven't done a lot of Goses on the show. We've done a couple, but we haven't done a lot. So it'll be interesting to take this and try it and see what we think. Anderson Valley Brewing is based in Boonville, California, and this is the G&T Gose. And I'm just telling you, I don't get a whole lot except lemon.
They recommend if you're going to pair it with cheese, you should pair it with herb-crusted goat cheese.
That kind of makes sense to me. I'm getting a little lemon on the nose, but that's about all I'm figuring out.
Well, one of the things they talk about here is the wheat malt in here.
Interesting.
And you can smell the wheat.
And I'm a little surprised by that,
really
actually.
Interesting.
I'm a little surprised by the wheat because I don't think of Gose as being a wheaty sort of a beer.
No, and wheat, the wheaty beers, that's what gives you that kind of overripe and a lot of banana, which, by the way, this has on the aftertaste.
On the finish, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly does.
The finish is very banana, actually.
I would say up front, lots of lemon and carbonation, and even a little bit of a maybe saltiness.
I go with that.
Yeah. It's good. It's very refreshing.
It's reminiscent of the Dogfish Head makes a Sequench ale that I think we had on here.
Yes.
That was the salt and whatever else. Very reminiscent of that. But this has that weedy kind of overripe banana kind of thing that finishes it up.
And just that little bit of sour, like you were saying, the tartness.
But the tartness goes away pretty quick after the first swallow.
Yes, it does. It doesn't linger. Like some of the sours, like what they leave you with is that sour sort of
they leave you that tart,
taste.
like I can't stop salivating kind of sour.
Right, exactly. and in this case really that sort of fades after the first couple of seconds after you swallow. So very interesting.
I agree.
There are some there are some encouraging remarks from Washington, D.C. about premium cigars. A House Budget Committee hearing in Washington, D.C. and the cigar lobbying groups the remarks were made, I should have said, at the House Budget Committee hearing, and cigar lobbying groups are taking this as an encouraging sign that lawmakers are considering adjusting these very controversial cigar regulations, or at least they are listening. So there's I'm not going to get into too much of the details for you, but just it's significant that there's movement and that there seems to be an acknowledgement that the premium cigar industry can and should be separated from cigarettes and machine-made small cigars like you get in the convenience store.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But all of the watch groups, and you may remember we had our guy from Cigar Rights of America, Mr. Boring, was on, and we those guys are looking at this as encouragement. They're looking at it as good news. Okay. Coming up, we have more tasting to do here. We mentioned the Whistle Pig. We're also going to be tasting a Wasatch Devastator Double Bock, which sounds interesting. I've never had it. And the Southern Star Black Crack. It's a barrel-aged buried hatchet.
Yes.
So buried hatchet is pretty good.
Yeah.
To see what
By pretty good, you mean holy cow.
yeah,
that's
by pretty
stuff.
good I mean whoa. So that'll be coming up. Plus, we already know that cigars they're not a zero risk to health. Like almost anything that you take into your body, there are some risks to smoking cigars. What is interesting to me is to watch the press lie about this. And it's even like, it's blatant. They contradict themselves in their own stories. So I'm going to get to that coming up. And we'll taste the Whistle Pig. It's all coming up. It's Smoking and
Whistle
Toasting.
Pig.
The Whistle Pig. It's Smoking and Toasting, and we'll be right back.
You're not a fan of the sour ale.
Yeah.
The look on your face was priceless.
Welcome back, my very good friends, to Smoking and Toasting. We are the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. And we love these guys. They are just absolutely awesome. They're terrific.
Man, the bacon.
And the bacon. Yes.
I need to actually go by there because a lot of times, I take my Thursdays off, so a lot of times after the show is a
Looking
good
for a
time
place
to
to
go
go and
home
smoke someplace.
grill.
Oh,
so I need to go by the
see.
butcher shop.
See, we
and
could
pick up
go
one
over
of
there
those
and have a
dry-aged
cigar
steaks.
and a couple of drinks, and then you could grab your dry-aged steak on the way out and take it home and try your luck.
I wish you wouldn't twist my arm so hard.
Yes, I'm bad about that. So, no one who is a cigar smoker is delusional and thinking that there is zero risk to smoking cigars. Obviously, when it comes to things like cigars versus cigarettes, the biggest difference is that while cigars can be stronger, cigars are not inhaled. So
Yes.
you're not taking the smoke into your lungs the same way you are with cigarettes. And so the general accepted, thinking is that that's not as bad for you.
No, it's not.
As if you're taking the smoke
Yeah,
into
you
your
still get
lungs.
some absorption in the
Of course,
membranes
yes.
in the mouth and everything like
absolutely.
that, which is 100%. But I want to point out too much of anything is bad for you.
Yes.
Let's think about this: you don't drink water, you die. Too much water, you die.
You die. Exactly.
Right. So-
And let's say something else too. None of these articles where they're touting the public dangers of smoking a cigar say anything about what I'm going to say is my number one thing I love about smoking a cigar, which is that sense of peacefulness and well-being that I get from stopping, taking a moment to just contemplate life, enjoy something that I really enjoy the flavor of, and just bring my whole vibe and blood pressure and everything down and chill. It's a wonderful, almost Zen-like moment for me when I'm sitting and enjoying a really, really good cigar.
Agree.
And no one talks about that. No one talks about the health benefits of being able to get to that state. Now, you could certainly make an argument there's other ways to get in that state other than smoking a cigar, and that's not wrong. But I'm just saying, nobody talks about that. What they do talk about is this. There's a new study that's been released. And by the way, some people might not think we'd address this on the show, but here we go.
We're about real issues here.
Yeah, we'll address it right now. The study tracked the health and habits of more than 357,000 Americans from 1985 to 2011. And here's what this is UPI. I'm reading this off a UPI press statement. The headline is Study, Cigars, Pipes, Not Safer Than Cigarettes. And the first line in this says, smokers who think cigars or pipes are somehow safer than cigarettes may want to think again, new research indicates. And then it goes to talk about the study. Now, here's what the study found. It found that compared to people who had never smoked, people who regularly smoked only cigarettes had double the risk of death in this time frame.
Okay.
So if it's you and you smoke cigarettes and it's a guy next to you and he doesn't smoke at all, then you've got twice as much of a chance of dying during the time frame during the 85 to 2011 as he did, according to this study, from whatever the cause, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, they're
then-
calculating a risk. They're not calculating an actuality.
Exactly. And you had quadruple the odds of dying from a tobacco-linked cancer. Well, of course you did, because you were the smoker in this.
We were smoking
thing.
tobacco, right?
Right, exactly. Such as cancer of the lung, bladder, esophagus, pancreas, larynx, and mouth. But then it says people who claimed they smoked only cigars weren't off the hook. Then it goes on to say, and this is from the study, cigar smokers had a 20% elevated odds of death from any cause and a 61% higher risk of death from a tobacco-linked cancer. Okay, so they just said that cigars and pipes are not safer than cigarettes. Yes, they are. That's proven in the article. The first line of this article says smokers who think cigars or pipes are somehow safer than cigarettes may want to think again. No. If you read the study, you've got a 20% elevated odds of death versus a 50%.
Right. That seems safer.
Now, for some people, a 20% may be enough where they go, I'm not going to smoke cigars. I'm just not going to do it. And by the way, none of this says anything about how much or how many of these people who smoke cigars may also have smoked cigarettes at one time and quit and, but still smoke a cigar, So anyway, I looked at a number of articles online, and they all had some kind of distortion like that in them.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, you think they're safer. They're not. Well, actually, according to the study, they are. According to the study. This is the study you're writing about.
So a lot of times when I read those studies, you can almost read right between the lines this is exactly how we adjusted the information to make it say exactly what we want it to say.
That's exactly right.
I mean, you can see it. I get so frustrated. I can't even watch the news.
Because
it makes me crazy.
Yes. What's the old saying?
For that reason.
There's three kinds of lies: lies, damn lies, and statistics. That's the old saying, right? And it's true. You can make statistics say almost anything that you want.
Right.
With that in mind, by the way, I'm going to tell you how to live past 90 coming up.
I love that idea.
And this is also based on a new study. So if you're worried about your cigar smoking, let me tell you what to do to
we got the counterbalance right here.
Counterbalance, thank you. That's the correct word that I was looking for. You know what else I was looking for? I was looking for this.
I'm willing to bet that there's a health benefit to just hearing that sound because it makes me so happy.
That's why we, like to make sure the mic is on and we're capturing that sound as we do it. Wasatch,
until they come out with some kind of article and statistics that tell you that happiness also raises your risk of cancer.
Oh, I bet it does. I bet people who are happy have an elevated risk of cancer.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. I will say this. We're about to sample the Wasatch Devastator Double Bock Lager. And it looks like when I pour it into a cup, it actually looks about the same color as like a Shiner Bock. It doesn't look like it's a heavier, more devastating, as the name implies. But one of the things I also found interesting is that Wasatch, and I've been drinking Wasatch brews for quite some time, Wasatch is now can only. They have made the transition to only cans, and this is a real trend. And I have said this before on the show, I'm not sure that I like it.
I actually like it.
I know you do. I do enjoy hearing that sound of the can opening.
Yes.
But man, there's something about a good cold bottle of beer.
I get that. If you're going to drink straight out of something, the can is not my favorite. Mm-hmm. But I almost always, if I'm going to drink, pour it into a glass.
Yeah.
Hello, Solo Cup. I'm talking to you.
Hello, Solo Cup. Yes, thank you very much. On your ongoing quest
By the way,
to sponsor.
Somebody from Solo Cup call me because I need your sponsorship. I almost always pour it, like 90% of the time I pour it into a glass because I don't like drinking out of a can. I don't like drinking a soda out of a can. I just don't like drinking out of a can generally.
Right, of course.
It's not that I avoid it or anything, but or that I don't do it at all. But anyway, the bottom line is the can is just a better vessel for beer. There's zero issues with light. I mean, you get light contamination and all that. I mean, you eliminate so much contamination just by putting it in a can, so you can't worry about a lot of those things. It's just way better, I think.
So we're talking about health risks and doing things that are potentially bad. I'm reading from the Devastator Double Bock can from Wasatch. It says here, if you're going to sin big. With 8% alcohol by volume and a creamy richness, this brew has developed a serious cult following. Imagine that. A cult following in Utah. because Wasatch is from they're from Salt Lake City, and they have a great sense of humor about that, because aren't they the guys that have the polygamy
yes, polygamy porter.
Yeah, which is just such an awesome idea.
I want to also point out about cans too. Try crushing a bottle on your forehead.
That's a good point.
I'm just saying they're safer.
Wow. I just took my first drink of this, and here's what has completely taken me by surprise. Didn't get any of this on the nose. Wasn't expecting it. But it's almost like chocolate milkshake on the finish.
Yep.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that from a Bock. Even a double. Like, you expect it more from like a porter or a stout, right?
Yeah.
But that's almost
This
chocolate
also
milkshake.
has a much creamier mouthfeel than you would expect from any kind of Bock. I've had this before. I've had this actually quite a number of times.
So this is
I
no
knew
surprise
exactly
to you.
what
You
was
know
saying.
totally what you're
Also,
going
I
for
want
here.
you to, when you take a swallow, one of the other weird things that you find in this, this to me is almost like they just missed making a barley wine. Taste the date on the finish on there. Like the fruit, the date, not, the date.
Not the date on the
when it was
calendar.
made, not the
Right,
date on the calendar.
Yeah,
not
no,
the
I get it.
born on date.
No, you're right. You're right. It's just
just
a little
shy.
off being a barley wine.
Yeah, just shy of being a barley wine
Yeah, no,
flavor
you're right.
wise.
No, you're right. It's more carbonated, and it's got a lighter mouthfeel. But yes, it's just shy of being a barley wine.
But definitely a
flavor
heavier
standpoint.
mouthfeel than most Bocks.
Oh, more so than like a Shiner Bock
Yeah.
or any of those. I really like. They may have at Wasatch. They may have one of the best slogans of any beer company that I've ever read, and it says this right here on the can: "We drink our share and sell the rest." That's good. That's really, really good. I like that. I like that very, very much. So this is good. We are. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a break, and we're going to return and taste the Whistle Pig, because I'm
The Whistle Pig.
really excited.
What
about
is
this.
the deal with Whistle Pig?
Whistle Pig Old World Cask Finish?
Is this Whistle Pig
It's 12-year-old rye.
as good as touted?
Yeah, is it as good? These guys have totally been, the thing in terms of people talking about them. They're supposed to be legendary, so we will see if it holds up.
Coming
to
up
the hype.
soon. Is
Yes.
this Whistle Pig as good as touted?
Plus-
Or what to do with the giant flask of glass?
Yes, exactly. And cheers to life. We'll tell you how to live past 90.
I love
Coming
that.
up, it's Smoking and Toasting. That's good.
Tiffany, you're making a smiley face on that one.
Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting, and I apologize for having a bit of a sneeze and a little tickle in my throat that makes me cough every once in a while.
How dare you.
Obviously, I'm not drinking enough to keep my throat moist to keep that tickle from coming back. So we will work on that. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. Okay, it's on. Miller Coors has been sued by Stone Brewing. And things have been getting ugly between big beer and craft beer for a long time. And I found this in a column in the Marin, which is Marin County, California, which is across the bay from San Francisco. The Marin Independent Journal, Alistair Bland, who's obviously written about beer before, because he says, as I've discussed again and again and again, producers of watery lager hoping to cash in on craft beer sales have quietly purchased many craft brands with the hope that people like you and me wouldn't know any better and would keep buying the beer. Large beverage corporations also use the marketplace girth to knock lesser, if better, brands off the shelf. But now, Big Beer has pushed Greg Cook too far. Greg is the co-founder of Stone Brewing Company in Escondido. And by the way, Greg spells his name, Cook, the same as Jim Cook from Sam Adams. So Cook and his company colleagues filed a lawsuit on February 12th against Miller Coors for allegedly misrepresenting the Stone brand by using Stone on cans of its own Keystone Light beer. Miller Coors is the proud producer of some of the, and I'm reading this from Alistair Bland's article. It says, Miller Coors is the proud producer of some of the most uninteresting yet popular beer in the world and has brazenly dropped the word key from its brand, prompting a fast backlash from Stone Brewing, widely regarded as one of the pioneers of the craft beer community.
Oh, come on. They had to know that was going to happen.
Yeah. Cook says, we all know Keystone is specifically designed to be as inexpensive, flavorless, and watery as possible. He said in a media statement released on Monday.
Read here, popular.
We can't have potential Stone drinkers thinking that we make a shutter-like beer, or for our fans to think we sold out. Miller Coors needs to stop marketing the stuff using our good name. So that's what the suit's about. Kind of interesting, don't you think?
I agree.
I certainly wouldn't mistake a Keystone Light for being anything from Stone, but then again,
You have experience.
maybe some people would. I do have some experience in this, so. Sorry, trying to kill the itch there. It's an interesting lawsuit, to say the least, and it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, if I'm Stone Brewing, I'm not really thinking I'm going to get damages from Miller Coors out of this. What I want to do is I want to call more attention to my brand and how it is, in fact, superior in quality.
I think a little of A and a little of B.
You think so?
Yeah, because why would they drop the Keystone?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they drop the key on the Keystone? Keystone Light's been a brand name forever, and now they're changing it. They're changing it for a reason. Either they want to change the name,
Right.
they want to call some kind of different attention to it.
Well, but my thought is, if you're Stone, you're thinking this is good for us for publicity.
Well, yeah,
so
of
people
course,
hear about
of course.
our brand. Oh, now I just opened. You didn't hear much. I'm going to close it and try it again. I just opened the Whistle Pig.
Not bad. We got a little plop from the bottle.
Little
too. That was all
more
right.
that time than the time
a little
before.
blop.
So I will say it's a very interesting on the nose just from the top of the bottle, and it'll be interesting to see if you can even smell it from across the room. But
I got to see if this is worth the price tag.
Well, yeah, because this is not a super inexpensive. It's about
120.
120. Okay, is what I'm
Almost
thinking.
everywhere you go. I mean, it may go up or down by usually up by $5 or so, but about 120 on this one.
Yeah, I will admit I did not buy this bottle. It just wound up in my hand. So I'm just thinking, there's been enough hoopla to definitely look at this and say, okay, let's see if it lives up to the hype. And so that's what we're doing with the Whistle Pig. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on Whistle Pig. Like, are you expecting this to live up to the hype, or do you think it's probably overblown?
This is 12-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
This is 12. Let's see what I have the information here. This is 86 proof, 12-year-old rye whiskey. Is a marriage of whiskeys aged in new American oak, ingeniously finished in port, 7%.
Mm-hmm.
French sauternes, 30%, and Madeira casks at 63%. Everything finished with those casks is good. I don't know how it tastes when you blend them all together.
Right. That's
But
kind of one of the things.
like
of
I've
this
had
particular whiskey.
had whiskeys aplenty finished in all of those individually, and they're all delicious.
Okay.
We've taken the elements that are most quintessential in American rye, boldness and character, that is, and fused them. Fuse them with the elegance and grace of an 18-year-old Scotch. Now, those are pretty big words. This is a 12-year-old whiskey.
It's a 12-year-old blended whiskey, and they're telling you it has the elegance and grace of an 18-year-old Scotch. I wonder if it lives up
I'm
to it.
interested. I'm staring at you.
It's very good on the nose.
It does smell
very
delicious.
good on the nose.
It smells like it smells like dark fruit. It smells like chocolate. Lots of chocolate in the smell.
It's definitely a rye. Is the first thing that I'll say. Because
Lots
you
of rye.
get that-
Yes, there's
you
an
get
obvious
that
one.
sort of graininess, or whatever you want to call it, that comes from the that comes from the rye, where it's a little more about that than it is about the finish, about the port and the oak wood and what have you. I'm going to say that it's very good. I don't know if I would say, and this is just my personal taste, I don't know if I would prefer it to, say, a $70 bottle of Blanton's. Your thoughts, Ian?
So, upon first taste, this is so, like, you don't smell it as much.
Mm-hmm.
But when you taste it,
It is good, by the way.
it is
I'm not
so
in any way trying
rye.
to say it's not good.
like,
it's
is
just very rye.
unabashedly rye.
Right. And that
this
might
is
be-
almost more rye than a lot of rye whiskeys that you buy that just say rye whiskey.
And that might be part of it for me, because I'm not as big a fan of rye as I am of some of the other styles.
I'm going to say this is good.
I'm going to say that too.
Like, there's no doubt. The finish is so chocolatey, I might have just taken a fingerful of icing.
So we've had a couple of real big chocolate bombs here between the Devastator Double Bock and the Whistle Pig.
Yes, I mean, that is such a chocolatey finish.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about it, is it $120 worth of wonderful chocolatey finish with rye?
Because I'm just going to put a couple of thoughts up against it. A bottle of the IPA cask finished Glenfiddich.
$70.
$70. Yeah. A bottle of any like the Balvenie. The what is the lowest year on Balvenie? Is it 8?
The Balvenie is the I can't remember now.
It's even a bottle of the 12 is not more expensive than this. No. You know? And a Glenmorangie. What's the Glenmorangie, like, that is just their basic.
Their 10.
Man, that 10 is fantastic, and it's not this expensive.
No.
So,
this is more complex, I think, than either of those.
I think it's going to depend on whether you really like the rye flavor, though.
Yeah, I think the rye flavor has a lot to do with it. Is it $120 worth of bottle? I'm thinking I'd have been happier at 90. I'd have gone, this is a really good whiskey at 90.
Mm-hmm.
That extra,
it is really good.
It is really good, but that extra
we're just debating the price.
$30 in my mind, like I think there's a $30. It may take more research. Okay,
is all of the Whistle Pig stuff rye whiskey, or do they have?
Yes, Whistle Pig is rye whiskey.
All rye, yeah.
As far as I know, like, somebody proved me wrong, but I'm pretty sure. And this is the 12-year-old. This is complex. I will say complex, the finish on this is so good and smooth.
The finish is my favorite part of it, actually.
It leaves you really, really going, that was pretty good. Again, I'd have been pretty happy at $90 on a bottle. At $120 on a bottle, I got to think twice about it. It's nice to have. You get the bragging rights. The Whistle Pig's been so popular recently.
And by the way, I have seen this as high as like
but I think to
160,
I think to be honest with you, I think I've had sub $100 whiskeys that I like as much or better than this.
I can think of half a dozen right now.
And so I'm not entirely sure that the $120 price tag is there on this one.
But in fairness to the Whistle Pig, this isn't as favorite a style for me. So when I tell you I can think of sub $100 whiskeys that I think are better, those all fall in my favorite
now,
style.
They also make a couple bottles that are less than this. Mm-hmm. This just happens to be the one that we have today.
I will say this is maybe my favorite rye that I've had.
It's a good whiskey.
Yeah.
It's a good. I certainly am not going to say, "Oh no, I don't like that whiskey." The 120 turns me off a little bit on that. I'm thinking that's the sticking point with me. If
you know what it is? It's like when you cross the $10 barrier with a cigar.
Yeah.
When you cross that $10 barrier, now you're expecting something that blows those $8 cigars away.
Yeah, even if it's $10.50.
Right. You're like, yes. We just entered double digits on the front.
Yeah.
Show me something that's going to really impress me, so I feel like I'm spending it. And it's kind of that way when you go over 100, I think, in a bottle of any spirit.
So I'm going to say this. Good, yes. Mm-hmm. Blow me away? Not really.
For $20 more than this, I can buy a bottle, and I realize this is apples and oranges, or in this case, agave and rye. But I can buy, for $20 more, I can buy a bottle of the Jose Cuervo Reserva de la Familia. And that's like maybe the best spirit I've ever had in my life.
Which is one of the finest, not only
one of the best
examples
tequilas you can get
of the style.
Yes.
But, one of the finest out there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Is it comparable to the complexity of some of the scotches I've had? I've had scotches I didn't like as much at the same price range. But I will tell you this, at the $120 price range, when you're buying a scotch, I think you're getting a little more complexity overall.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I like it.
It's good. I do like it, too.
It's good whiskey.
If I went over to your house and you poured me this, I wouldn't be going, what else you got? I'd be like, this is good. Yeah?
Pour a little Coke in it. You're fine.
Right. Yes. I will mention really quickly, because I mentioned the Jose Cuervo Reserva de la Familia, that I had some more of it last week. My wife took me out for Valentine's Day. In fact, I remember seeing you a part of that trip.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We crossed paths.
There was a an apparition that showed up and
Yes.
sang a song and wandered off, so he
Yes.
didn't interrupt any more of your
But
evening.
he looked a bit like you.
I don't know. He's probably wearing work clothes or something.
I think his voice was better than yours, though.
Probably.
Anyway, we went out and had a wonderful evening. Wound up at Tango and Malbec, which is really more known for their wines than anything else. But my wife was having some sparkling wine, and I was enjoying a Goose Island IPA. And I looked over at the countertop, and I'm like, "Is that a bottle of Reserva de la Familia?" So I asked the bartender, and she said, "Yes, it is." I said, do not tell me how much it is. I just want one. So we enjoyed that. It was Valentine's Day. It was a special moment, and we enjoyed it.
So when we come back, I'll have to tell the story of sneaking up on you on Valentine's Day.
I want to hear that. So that's coming up. Plus, how to live past 90, and we try black crack for the first time. Details are coming up. It's Smoking and Toasting, and it is show number 77. Welcome to it.
How do you like it? You like it? You like it $120 worth?
On the beach in Hawaii.
Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Ziggy Marley, thank you. So we're going to do something we've never done on the show before, and that is to try a beverage that has crack in the title. So our final segment here on this edition, number 77 of the show, is going to be sampling Southern Star's Black Crack. And according to this can, basically it is a barrel-aged version of their Buried Hatchet Stout, which is in and of itself a force to be reckoned with.
Southern Star. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. Southern Star on its own is fantastic.
Oh, they're
it's
a great
so
brewery.
good.
They're a great brewery. First to do cans in Texas, by the way.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And their Buried Hatchet is such an amazing stout. I like stouts.
It may be one of my favorite stouts that I've
that
ever tried.
stout, to me, is on an echelon with Founder's Breakfast Stout. Like, those two might be the best stouts I even know of. Mm-hmm.
You won't find either.
Unreal.
You won't find either on the menu at the restaurant downstairs at House of Blues.
That's odd.
That is odd, isn't it? Wouldn't you think you'd find one or the other?
So, but you have to be careful with this. Like, I had a birthday party last year, and we decided to get a couple kegs for my birthday party. And my wife said, "Well, let's get a keg of the Buried Hatchet." And I said, "Baby, I love you, and that is a great idea, except for Buried Hatchet
one thing,
is 10%.
Yeah, no, if you had a keg of Buried Hatchet, dude, you would
now
make it home.
A keg, and we're talking about a slim here. We're not talking about a 15.5 or a half barrel, what they call it. We're talking about a slim here, which is a 5-gallon keg. That's 65 pints of beer.
That's a lot of beer. That's a lot of
65 pints of beer at 10%.
Yeah, it's a lot of 10%. Well,
we talked her down. It was a great idea because it was a birthday / my friend was going away party. Hi, Gio.
Oh, yeah.
And so anyway, and Gio also loves the Buried Hatchet. We would have been like, as it stood, we had 2 kegs of beer. We hung out and we partied for approximately 6 to 8 hours
with the Buried Hatchet.
No.
We
decided against the Buried Hatchet, and I called my friend Joel over at Eureka Heights, and we ended up with the Wicked Awesome, which is so good.
Just fantastic, yes.
And their Buckle Bunny, I believe.
Oh, I like the Buckle Bunny,
because those are very sessionable. Like, they do all sessionable beers.
Yes.
10% not so sessionable. That would have been devastating.
More devastating than the Devastator. By the way, I just wanted to mention we're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork and Fort Worth. Get the bacon. Trust me. Don't ask questions. Just do it. I'm not seeing on the can of Southern Star Black Crack the bourbon barrel aged Buried Hatchet Stout. I'm not seeing the ABV on this, but I have a
10%.
feeling it's 10% because
we've gone up. By the way, we
is.
went from 4.5 to 8 point something to 10% now.
All right. So before we imbibe in the 10%, let me say cheers to life and share with you how you can live past 90.
Talk to me.
When it comes to making it into your 90s, according to a new study, and this may be Ian, one of those examples you were mentioning about how you can prove almost anything with a study. According to a new study, booze actually beats exercise if you want to live into your 90s. It's a long-term
I don't even know what to say to
study.
that.
Yes. The research was led by Claudia Cavas, a neurologist at the University of California. They tracked 1,700 people that were enrolled in the study that began in 2003, exploring the impacts of daily habits of all kinds on longevity. Researchers discovered that the subjects who drank 2 glasses of beer or wine a day were 18% less likely to experience a premature death than those who abstained from alcohol. Your chances, if you have 2 beers a day, of not experiencing a premature death go up 18%. Your chances of living. Yes, Ian.
Pick me.
Yes, Ian.
Mr. Cotter.
Yes. Mr.
Cotter. So if you smoke cigars and you drink 2 glasses of some kind of wine, spirit, or beer a day,
yes.
You have negated.
That's right. You're within two
the
percentage points
20%
of negating the. Yes, exactly. Right.
of the cigar.
You'll love this. Researchers said that in contrast to couch potatoes, participants who exercised 15 to 45 minutes a day cut the same risk by 11%. So you're 18% less likely to die a premature death if you drink 2 drinks a day, and only 11% if you exercise for 15 to 45 minutes.
So I want to stack things in my favor. So if I exercise every day, and I smoke cigars, and I have a couple of drinks in the evening.
Yeah. Well, I think
I'm
you're
doing
now
all right.
you're now net positive.
Yeah.
According
we're
to
plus, right?
the research, you're
that
net
means
positive.
I'm more likely to live.
The owner of the study, the person who initiated the study, says, I have no explanation for it, but I do firmly believe that modest drinking improves longevity. And this was said at the annual conference in Austin, Texas, last week. Other factors were found to boost longevity, including weight. Participants who were slightly overweight but not obese cut their odds of early death by 3% compared to subjects who were normal to overweight. So if you are slightly overweight, not obese, but slightly overweight, you actually have a better chance to live longer than normal to underweight. It's not bad to be skinny when you're young, but it's very bad to be skinny when you're old, Kava said in her address. So subjects who kept busy with a daily hobby 2 hours a day were 21% less likely to die early. That's even better than drinking alcohol. While those who drank 2 cups of coffee a day cut that risk by 10% compared to non-coffee drinkers. Further study, they say, is needed to determine how habits impact longevity beyond people's genetic makeups. In the meantime, have a glass of beer or wine.
Let's wrap this up.
Or both, yes.
So what we're saying is, have a cigar if you want to, but there's a risk. Have a couple drinks,
And
if you might counteract that risk.
Right. According to the numbers. Now,
Exercise,
we're not making this up. Yes.
and have a hobby, and you have a much better chance.
You have a much better chance of living longer.
That
yes.
seems like an all right thing.
It works for me. It totally works.
I
for
can
me.
live by that.
It works for me almost as good as this sound. Ooh. Can you tell that's frothy just by the sound of the opening?
Frothy.
Ooh, and I just got a whiff of it, too. So I've just opened up what Southern Star, which is a brewery in Conroe, Texas, calls Black Crack. And the Black Crack is their Buried Hatchet Stout, which we've already established is a good thing.
Buried Hatchet Stout.
Yeah, but it's been barrel aged, so it'll be very interesting. Have I come up with some really great stuff for the rest to taste on this show?
You always do.
You know, I'm good like that, aren't I? Wow, terrific. So Black Crack is Buried Hatchet Stout with a little bit of barrel aging involved, and it's going to be very interesting, I think, to do this tasting and get a feel for what we think we got. I'm noticing that Adam is engrossed in the Wheels of Steel, so he hasn't tried his yet. So it'll be interesting because I kind of know what he likes. I'm thinking he may like this, but it is 10% ABV, or so we think, and judging by the first inhale, I will say I'm not getting like a whole lot of very specific flavors, but I know there's a knockout punch coming.
I'm going to wait until you take a sip, and then I'm going to say something. Heath Bar.
Wow, dude. Heath Bar. Like
Yeah.
almost exactly.
Yeah.
So Heath Bar is what? Toffee and chocolate? Is that what a
Yes.
Heath Bar is? Wow.
Toffee and chocolate. Now, if you had that toffee and chocolate sitting on a little bit of oak bark, that's pretty much what we're drinking.
Wow.
And it's amazing.
So this is the third thing we've had today that is a chocolate bomb.
Yes, today is a chocolate
It's a
bomb
chocolate
apparently.
day. Yes, it is a chocolate day. But this is the first one that has represented for Heath Bar, and that is just like that's. Now I'm trying to remember Buried Hatchet on its own, and I'm not remembering Heath Bar. I'm remembering
No,
chocolate.
the toffee's not there in a Buried Hatchet. You don't get that toffee flavor. You get the you don't get the oak or toffee. Mm-hmm. In the Buried Hatchet, you get that definite classic stout flavors.
Yes.
A little bit of nuttiness, but a lot of chocolate. Like Buried Hatchet is also a chocolate bomb anyway.
It really is.
But
And
this is like a more complex Buried Hatchet. And Buried Hatchet, while it's an amazing beer, I wouldn't call it a very complex beer. This is like a more complex version of it.
So let me just mention this. I just went after a couple of very generous sips of the Black Crack. I went back and had a sip of the Whistle Pig.
You had a sip left of the Whistle Pig?
I did. Very nice. Well, you remember it's rye, and I don't go that hard on rye, right? So, but that's very nice. It's a very nice pairing.
I could see that working.
Very nice pairing. Wow. So I'm pretty impressed. I'm pretty impressed with the Black Crack.
At $10 for a single 16-ounce can, how do you feel about it? Bless you.
I think I feel pretty good. I
That's
think I
a
could buy a
good-
$10 can.
I think that's a good share.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It's
that's
not
something.
as much as a 750 milliliter bomber, but it's only 10, not 20. So
Right. I think that this particular, I think they got a winner on this.
I think
Like,
they do.
This is
I
a
like
treat.
This, I like this even better than Buried Hatchet, which
Right.
is good.
And it's incredibly rich. Like, I have been known to actually sit down and have a few Buried Hatchets in a row. Mm-hmm. Not if I'm going to move around a whole bunch, afterwards. But this is something. This is so incredibly rich. And what I love too is that oak astringency in there just really balances
Balances all of the
that
chocolatiness
chocolate
out.
and toffee going on. But this is a share. This is a pass around. This is a let's all try this, because about a third of a can of this is probably all I'd want at one time.
What a very interesting group of things to taste on this show. Like I'm
Chocolate,
really
chocolate,
proud of
chocolate.
really proud
and
of our and sour. Yeah, sour and 3 chocolates.
Right.
That's how we roll. On next week's show, very excited about show number 78. Lee Longoria from Spindletap Brewing will be joining us to talk Spindletap. We're very excited about having
That's
Lee on
pretty
the
awesome.
show. And Spindletap is a great Houston area microbrewery. They make great beers. We're really psyched about that. Plus, we're going to continue to investigate on the tequila shortage. We're going to get to the bottom of this. What is it really about? And how does that impact you as a tequila consumer? And I think, I've been thinking about this more and more, I think I may be going and springing for a bottle of the Reserva de la Familia from Cuervo. Because after finding out what the Whistle Pig cost, and just like considering all of it, and if tequila prices are going up because of the agave, I don't know. But see, maybe that's what they want me to think. This is what Stuart's saying. That's what they want you to think. So you get out there and buy. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's very interesting out there, my friends. We try to bring you the real news, not
The
just
hardcore stuff.
the hardcore stuff. That's what we do. Black Crack is pretty hardcore. I'm gonna have some.
That is
of
pretty
this.
hardcore.
Have a great week, my friends. Thank you for joining us for Smoking and Toasting number 77. Thanks to Adam on the Wheels of Steel, and to Ian's lovely wife Tiffany for sitting in on the show today. And
Cheers.
I have a feeling she liked the Black Crack. Did you? Oh yeah, I had a feeling. Have a great week, my friends, and cheers.